Welcome to Minerva. The energy I picked up on reminds me of the Blue Whisper, and I'm going to try to explain this without giving any spoilers. There are two main characters that I'm going to focus on, and that would be Jung-ha, the fox, and Chang-yi, the merman. Jung-ha, the fox, she is a sweet character. She's someone who believes in getting to know someone to see who they are, what they're about. She's bubbly. She's someone who has a positive just disposition, a joyful joy to be around. And she doesn't believe in harming or punishing anyone. She tries her best to do the right thing, treat people with the dignity and respect that she feels that every creature should have, regardless of what type of creature they may be. And she's a perfect example of someone who's open, that doesn't stereotype or have any prejudice towards anyone, someone who gets to know you and see what kind of heart you have. And the merman is the perfect example of someone who's also a good person, but on the surface, they seem like they're rough around the edges. They come across as difficult and not willing to follow any orders or do what other people tell them. Very courageous, confident, but believes in right and wrong. The fox wants to train the merman to essentially serve a fairy. And the fairy turns out to be evil. She's not very kind. So the fox decides that she doesn't want the merman to be under the fairy because the fairy is awful. And by turning over the merman, she's essentially going to be putting an innocent creature in harm's way. Now, she knows that if she decides to help this merman, she's essentially giving up not only her future dreams of potential freedom, but she could be putting her life on the line. And she does this regardless of the consequences because she believes in doing the right thing. Like, she cannot live with the thought of harming an innocent creature. So you are the fox. You are the fox who may have been in a situation where you did the right thing regardless of the consequences. And unfortunately, you had to live through those consequences and they were harsh. It may have put your entire life in an upheaval. Think tower, maybe major towers, maybe multiple towers in your life. You are now picking up the pieces. You have to start over. You have to do something differently. You have to change your life. And it's not easy. And you may be feeling some sort of bitterness or anger because you did the right thing and you were punished. Oftentimes, a lot of movies will give you that sense that, hey, the right thing will happen, justice will occur, and you can walk off into the sunset, right? And then when it doesn't happen, we're upset and we're angry, and we decide not to do the right thing in the future because then what will happen to you? What will happen if you did the right thing? Will you be in this situation again where you're going to be harmed and you're going to be stepped on again? The reality is that justice will occur. There will be a balance. You may not see it, but it's going to happen. As you start on your new path and you gain abundance and prosperity, the energy is going to shift and there will be accountability for the people that caused harm. Now, something that no one really mentions that can and does tend to happen is oftentimes people will continue being themselves. If they were allowed to get away with doing something to someone, then they don't have any incentive to change. They will continue doing that. And it's ultimately them continually to do the wrong thing that eventually gets them in trouble. When you think of a lot of people who they're not getting justice until like a decade or two after what they did, sometimes 25 plus years later, and then they're getting justice, it's because they continue to do wrong and they may have done more and more over the years because they were confident to do so. If they didn't do that, if they didn't continue doing what they were doing, they would have never have gotten any type of accountability. And many of us can be very upset when we see this happen, because it's like, gosh, we could have stopped this person years ago. We could have, prevented all this negative things from happening 20, 30, 40 years ago. And this person was allowed to harm several more people over the course of decades because nothing was done. And yes, that is very frustrating. I definitely feel that. And I myself wish that justice happened a lot sooner, accountability occurred a lot sooner. But the reality is that oftentimes these people were protected. And if they didn't continue doing what they were doing, then they never would have gotten accountability. It's the fact that they are this person that is harmful. And so justice tends to occur eventually because of who they are. They're not good people that made one mistake. These are people that choose the wrong choice or choose to do harm over and over and over again. Essentially, there is a pattern, and patterns cannot be ignored over time. Maybe the first or second time it can be overlooked, but after a while, it can't be overlooked anymore, and generally something is done. Sometimes these people will start to harm those around them. They'll start to harm the people that were protecting them, the ones that were their friends or family members, or the ones that worked alongside them that protected them. And then things will crumble because of who they are inherently. So I'm not going to tell you that the justice will happen immediately or that you will see them go down in flames, because sometimes that doesn't happen in your face, but accountability does occur because because of who they are as a person. They themselves will ensure that their character will get them in trouble, and the choices that they make will get them in trouble. So now their choices and the type of person that they choose to be and the choices that they make when it comes to people around them will determine their lives. So now you have to decide how you are going to live your life. Are you going to allow this situation to change you to be someone who harms others? Or are you going to allow this to change you to be someone who won't stand up for the greater good or to protect those who can't protect themselves? Like, what are you going to do? And it's best that you choose to be in harmony and alignment. However, it's still your choice in the end. Going back to the show, another reason why I definitely recommend people watch it, The Blue Whisper, this Chinese drama, is one of those dramas that are very complex. It's not perfect by any way, shape, or form. There are flaws, for sure, but it does go into different personalities, how people handle guilt, the way people react to certain things that are occurring, the choices that they make, and how it impacts others. And it kind of reminds me also of the Game of Thrones, where the decision to choose self-preservation for Cersei Lannister turned into a major war eventually. And eventually she did get justice, but it didn't happen right away. It took a long time, but that was because of her character, the type of person she is, and the choices that she made, as well as choices that other people have made. So ultimately, we are in a world of choice. You decide what kind of life you're going to have and how you're going to treat others, and that decision can determine your fate in the future. So thank you so much for listening. So for the foxes out there, I wish you the best and have a wonderful day.